Welcome to the Allied Air Power podcast, NATO's sole broadcast that patrols the full spectrum of air, space, and cyberspace. Wherever you serve, consider this your ground truth for alliance activity above the clouds, beyond the atmosphere, and across the digital domain.
Headline: Croatian Rafales take over airspace protection under NATO's integrated air and missile defense after MiG-21 transition. Croatia began policing its own airspace on January 1, 2026, employing recently procured Rafale multi-role fighters, as part of NATO's integrated air and missile defense, or IAMD, framework. The shift follows a transition program in which Croatian pilots converted from MiG-21 aircraft to the French-built Rafale. The transition program also included intensive training for technicians and support personnel to meet NATO readiness requirements. During the training period, NATO allies temporarily provided peacetime airspace surveillance and protection for Croatia from neighboring member states Italy and Hungary under technical agreements between the respective defense ministries. Italian Air Force Eurofighter Typhoons and Hungarian Air Force Gripen fighters carried out the interim task, ensuring continuous coverage while Croatia generated trained crews and operational procedures. Starting in the new year, Croatia will conduct the air policing mission continuously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Under NATO Air Policing, Allied fighter jets are on duty around the clock, ready to scramble in case of suspicious or unannounced flights near NATO airspace. Air policing is an important way in which NATO provides security for Allied members. The handover also strengthens NATO's IAMD by adding a modern, interoperable national capability to the wider Allied network that supports timely detection, identification, and response to air threats using shared procedures and command and control. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte said about Croatia's role in the alliance: "Since joining the alliance in 2009, Croatia has been a valued member of NATO. It contributes significantly to our collective security, not only on our eastern flank and in the Western Balkans, but across the entire alliance." Mark Rutte also said about the airspace protection handover, after discussing Croatia's modernization with national leaders during a recent working visit on January 12, 2026. "I also welcome that, as of the 1st of January this year, the Croatian Air Force officially assumed full responsibility for protecting Croatian airspace." Story by Allied Air Command Public Affairs Office, with support from the Croatia Air Force. Published January 14, 2026.
Headline: From infrastructure to operations, NATO Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance Force takes another step toward full operational capability. The NATO Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance Force, or NISRF, continues to make tangible progress toward achieving full operational capability, or FOC. A key step on this path is the build-up of the new Mission Operations Support Center in a recently security-accredited building at the Italian Air Force Base Sigonella, in Sicily. The Mission Operations Support Center, which serves as NISRF's central mission operations hub during active intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, is currently being established in the new facility. Workstations and supporting information technology systems are being installed and integrated, and the Mission Operations Support Center is undergoing a structured testing phase to validate systems, workflows, and technical interfaces before any transition into operational use. Until this process is completed, NISRF continues to conduct mission operations from its existing Mission Operations Support Center located in the unit's interim infrastructure. This arrangement ensures uninterrupted mission execution while the new facility is prepared in a controlled and secure manner. The security accreditation of the newly installed system a month ago created the essential precondition for this next step. It confirmed that the facility meets NATO security requirements and allows the installation and testing of mission-critical systems. The new system allows the use of state-of-the-art technology in direct support of NISRF's mission. Brigadier General John B. Creel, commander of NISRF, highlighted the significance of this milestone. Brigadier General John B. Creel said, "This facility gives our personnel the tools and workspace they need to conduct NATO intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance operations effectively. Each step we take here moves us closer to full operational capability." The phased relocation from interim infrastructure to the new Mission Operations Support Center reflects NISRF's deliberate approach toward full operational capability. Each milestone, accreditation, installation, testing, and eventual transition, contributes to building a resilient and sustainable operational framework for the future. Story by NATO Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance Force Public Affairs Office, with support from Italy. Published January 22, 2026.
Headline: Allied air forces demonstrate enhanced air policing capabilities on NATO's eastern flank and in the High North. Allied air forces demonstrate enhanced interoperability, robust coordination, and commitment to the alliance, ensuring the security of NATO airspace 24/7. In 2025, NATO air forces continued to reinforce the alliance's air policing posture along the eastern flank, demonstrating collective resolve to safeguard NATO airspace around the clock. Under the command of Allied Air Command, NATO executed more than 500 scrambles in response to potential air threats. NATO's air policing mission is an unbroken 24/7, 365 mission that underscores NATO's readiness and deterrence against emerging threats. Air policing remains a fundamental component of NATO's integrated air and missile defense framework, enabling rapid identification and response to any potential air threats approaching or operating near NATO airspace. On the eastern flank, Allied fighter detachments, stationed at key strategic locations, maintain a continuous alert posture, ready to launch within minutes to intercept, identify, and escort aircraft as needed. At Armuri Air Base in Estonia, the Italian Eurofighter detachment continues to support Baltic air policing. In Lithuania, NATO air policing detachments continuously operate from Šiauliai Air Base. The Spanish F-18 Hornets are currently forward-based in Šiauliai, ensuring deterrence and stability on NATO's eastern border. NATO's air policing commitment extends beyond the Baltics to air bases in Poland and Romania. Both locations currently have a detachment of German Eurofighters who are on standby, ready for any potential air threat. These standing missions, synchronized under the new operating model of Eastern Sentry, reinforce defense of the alliance's eastern boundaries, with a flexible posture and multi-domain assets to respond dynamically to evolving security challenges. In addition to the rotational air policing detachments, allied nations also hold assets at National Quick Reaction Alert, or QRA, enabling fighter jets to scramble wherever there is a threat. On January 22, 2026, in response to a threat from Russian aircraft close to NATO's airspace, Swedish and Finnish fighters scrambled nationally, alongside the Italian Eurofighters who were scrambled by the Combined Air Operations Center in Udarum, or CAOC, under NATO authority. This collaboration highlights the enhanced interoperability of the National Air Operations Centers of Finland and Sweden with NATO's Combined Air Operations Centers, and the integration of fighter capabilities working in unison to ensure the integrity of NATO airspace. In the High North, as part of Iceland's peacetime preparedness needs under the alliance's airborne surveillance and interception capabilities, or IPPEN, program, fighter aircraft from NATO air forces provide quick reaction alert capabilities from Keflavik Air Base. They ensure persistent air surveillance and interception capability in the Arctic region. 2026 will mark the first time the Swedish Air Force will lead NATO air policing in Iceland, demonstrating their commitment to NATO and reinforcing collective defense in the High North. Integrated air and missile defense safeguards and protects alliance populations and forces against air and missile threats and attacks, contributes to deterrence, reassurance of allies, and supports the alliance's indivisible security and freedom of action. It is the defensive component of NATO's joint air power, aiming to ensure the stability and security of NATO nations' airspace by coordinating, controlling, and exploiting the air domain. It encompasses all measures to deter, defend against, and, when necessary, defeat air and missile threats, while reducing the effectiveness of hostile air actions. Story by Allied Air Command Public Affairs Office, with support from Sweden. Published January 26, 2026.
Headline: NATO Secretary-General visits Allied Air Command in Ramstein. NATO's Secretary-General Mark Rutte visited Allied Air Command in Ramstein on January 29, 2026, to observe the command's round-the-clock role in safeguarding every inch of NATO and its contributions to strengthening deterrence, especially along NATO's eastern flank. The Secretary-General met with Lieutenant General Jason T. Hines, Commander, Allied Air Command, to discuss the optimization efforts for NATO's Integrated Air and Missile Defense, or IAMD, and ballistic missile defense missions. He underlined how fully integrated Allied air capabilities ensure a credible deterrence and defense posture amid an increasingly complex security environment. MOSC Rutte also visited the Allied Air Command Situation Center, or SITCEN, where specialists monitor NATO airspace 24 hours a day. He was briefed on how Allied Air Command maintains the recognized air picture across the alliance, enabling commanders to make timely and informed decisions. The Secretary-General highlighted that constant surveillance and coordination are central to NATO's ability to detect, assess, and respond to any potential air threats to Allied territory. Several briefings were conducted during the visit, including on Eastern Sentry and enduring multi-domain enhanced vigilance activity activated in 2025 in response to NATO airspace violations. Eastern Sentry synchronizes all current deterrence and defense measures, such as NATO's air policing mission, along with additional capabilities and national contributions, to ensure the protection and security of NATO territory. It is enhancing NATO's vigilance along the entire eastern flank or wherever needed. Secretary-General Mark Rutte commended Allied Air Command personnel for their role in planning and overseeing this activity, adding that NATO's fast and decisive responses to past incursions reflect the readiness and adaptability of Allied air power. Story by Allied Air Command Public Affairs Office. Published January 31, 2026.
Headline: Eastern Sentry Joint Planning Team deploys to Bulgaria, strengthen collaboration on NATO's eastern flank. A NATO joint planning team composed of personnel from Allied Air Command Joint Force Command Naples, or JFC Naples, and the Combined Air Operations Center in Turin deployed to Sofia to further develop the Bulgarian contribution to Eastern Sentry. Eastern Sentry is a key NATO activity aimed at strengthening situational awareness, coordination, and NATO's defensive posture along the alliance's eastern border. The deployment of the Joint Planning Team represents another tangible step in reinforcing NATO's commitment to collective defense and airspace security. NATO personnel work in close coordination with the Bulgarian Air Force as they refine the Bulgarian elements and national contribution to enhanced vigilance activity Eastern Sentry. Through collaborative planning and integration, the team is enhancing NATO's ability to detect, deter, and respond to potential incursions into NATO airspace. Brigadier General Kevin M. Jamieson, Deputy Chief of Staff Operations at Allied Air Command, said, "This deployment highlights NATO's integrated approach to air and space operations. By bringing together planners from AIRCOM, JFC Naples, and KOC Torrejon, and working side by side with the Bulgarian Air Force, we strengthen interoperability and ensure national contributions are fully aligned with alliance objectives." Throughout the deployment, the Joint Planning Team focused on operational planning, command and control integration, and information sharing processes. These efforts contribute directly to improving readiness, responsiveness, and resilience across NATO's eastern flank. The close cooperation with the Bulgarian Air Force underscores NATO's emphasis on collective defense and the importance of host nation integration. By refining national elements within the broader NATO framework, Eastern Sentry enhances deterrence while ensuring air policing and air defense activities remain coherent and effective. This deployment marks only one in 7 planning teams that have deployed to the eastern flank countries since the activation of Eastern Sentry, further fortifying NATO's integrated air and missile defense. Allied Air Command, headquartered at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, is responsible for providing air and space expertise to NATO, ensuring the effectiveness of Allied air power in peace, crisis, and conflict. Story by Allied Air Command Public Affairs Office, with support from Bulgaria. Published February 4, 2026. Headline: Swedish Gripen deployment to Iceland marks historic moment for NATO's newest ally. In a landmark deployment, 6 Swedish Gripen fighter aircraft and a contingent of more than 110 personnel from Skaraborg Air Wing F7 have arrived at Keflavik Air Base. This rotation, running from early February to mid-March 2026, represents the first time the Swedish Air Force have led NATO's Icelandic air policing mission since their accession to NATO in March 2024. Air policing is a cornerstone of NATO's collective defense posture. Since 2008, Allied air forces have periodically deployed to Iceland to provide airborne surveillance and interception capabilities to meet Iceland's peacetime preparedness needs mission. The Swedish detachment comprises 6 Gripen multi-role fighters, known for their agility, advanced sensors, and interoperability with NATO command and control systems. The aircraft are supported by pilots, maintainers, and support staff who will maintain a continuous quick reaction alert, or QRC, capability, monitoring NATO airspace across a strategically vital corridor linking North America and Europe. Lieutenant Colonel Yoh Han Legadet, Sweden's detachment commander, said, "We have been planning this operation for a long time, and it feels both interesting and important given the current international security situation." Lieutenant Colonel Yoh Han Legadet also said, "The mission is aimed at the collective defense of Icelandic airspace, and it feels good to be able to contribute." In a demonstration of alliance interoperability and operational reach, the Gripen fighters were refueled en route to Iceland by NATO MRTT, multi-role tanker transport, assets. The MRTT enables sustained long-range deployment, reinforcing operational synergy between Allied air mobility and fighter capabilities. NATO air policing missions involve continuous airspace surveillance, identification of unknown tracks, and readiness to respond to potential airspace threats. These routine but vital tasks contribute to deterrence, crisis prevention, and assurance of Allied solidarity, particularly in high-latitude regions such as the Arctic. The Arctic environment presents unique operational challenges, including harsh weather, extended distances, and challenging flight conditions. Sweden's deployment to Iceland underscores both the strategic importance of northern defense and the alliance's commitment to maintaining a credible and integrated air defense posture across all domains. As the mission proceeds, Swedish aircrews will work closely with the Icelandic Coast Guard, operating under the direction of the Combined Air Operations Center at Uderem in Germany. Through these activities, Allied air forces continue to demonstrate the readiness and interoperability essential to deterring aggression and preserving peace throughout the Euro-Atlantic area. Story by Allied Air Command Public Affairs Office, with support from the Swedish Air Force and the Iceland Defence Force. Published February 6, 2026.
Headline: AIRCOM-led F-2T2 training supporting NATO's Eastern Sentry. On December 4, 2025, Allied forces from 6 NATO nations, Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, Spain, the United Kingdom, and the United States, participated in a NATO-led Find, Fix, Track, and Target event, or F-2T2, in Poland. The activity enhanced Allied integration and interoperability in support of NATO's newest enhanced vigilance activity, Eastern Sentry. The multi-domain training mission was coordinated and led by NATO Allied Air Command and tested the alliance's ability to operate in complex, contested environments. The aim of this training activity was to increase multi-domain air defenses along the eastern flank, with a particular focus on Poland and the Baltic nations, demonstrating Eastern Sentry's agile and adaptive nature. Eastern Sentry synchronizes all current deterrence and defense measures, such as this F-2T2 activity and NATO's air policing mission, along with additional capabilities and national contributions, to ensure the protection and security of NATO territory. Rather than focusing solely on static deployments or patrol rotations, Eastern Sentry operates as a dynamic enhanced vigilance activity that can reconfigure itself according to the threat. Its distributed posture allows forces to move fluidly across the eastern flank, from the Baltic states and Poland to the Black Sea region, maintaining constant situational awareness and decision superiority. Showcasing Eastern Sentry's operational readiness, F-2T2 missions require precise coordination across all warfighting domains, air, land, sea, cyber, and space, to ensure successful execution. These missions ensure NATO forces are ready to respond to any potential threat to the alliance. In the condensed training environment of an F-2T2, AIRCOM is able to scale activity to focus on interoperability across systems, as well as standard tactics, techniques, and procedures, ensuring alliance-wide capability. This challenges technical, procedural, and dynamic inputs from each contributing nation within the NATO command structure. At the core of this multi-domain training is a commitment to improving Allied operations. F-2T2s are composed of all volunteer Allied nations contributing national assets in a problem-solving environment to collaborate, plan, and debrief. This requires a holistic understanding of the training environment, from operators on the ground supporting command and control, or C2, to distributed planners and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance professionals, to airborne crews and ultimately senior leaders making operational decisions. The multi-domain integration of F-2T2 activities offers valuable opportunities to further improve readiness and tactical proficiency. F-2T2s test the Allies' ability to execute distributed operations while developing human interoperability. From the operator's perspective, intense evaluation and collaborative scrutiny of details ensure progression in tactical execution. By learning from one another, participants develop warfighting trust, identifying best practices and lessons that carry forward to future F2T2 iterations. To accomplish mission tasks, this F2T2 saw UK Royal Air Force Typhoons converge with Royal and US Army ground units in Poland, demonstrating seamless multi-domain integration. The fighter aircraft were refueled by a Royal Air Force Voyager, providing flexibility and enabling sustained time on mission. NATO's Airborne Warning and Control System, or AWACS, also provided airborne command and control, cross-domain coordination, and communicated notional targets and locations to air and ground assets within strike capabilities. Polish forces provided on-the-ground tactical command and control during the event. Allied land forces further supported the AIRCOM-led F2T2 mission by providing simulated fires, improving sensor-to-shooter collaboration and operational support. U.S. Brigadier General Kevin Jamieson, Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations at AIRCOM, said, "Events such as this are powerful reassurance to our allies. They show that NATO forces can integrate rapidly and effectively, reinforcing our readiness and strengthening deterrence." The ability to deliver precision, integrated multi-domain strike capabilities underscores the steadfast commitment of Eastern Sentry to protect NATO territory and populations on the eastern flank, safeguarding airspace, supporting a stable security environment, and deterring potential aggression and impingement on NATO airspace. Story by Allied Air Command Public Affairs Office. Published December 5, 2025.
That wraps up this flight of the Allied Air Power podcast, where news-driven updates meet the authentic voices behind the mission to defend every inch of NATO territory. Until our next sortie, stand ready in the air, secure in cyberspace, and steadfast on our path to the stars.